Welcome everyone to the first meeting in November. The Rotary theme for the month is Foundation, but today's meeting is the Remembrance Day Program. So we'll have a very short business portion. Welcome to George Oakley, President of the Legion Branch 599, who will lead us in the program, and our guest today from the Department of National Defense 22 Wing, Canadian Forces Base, North Bay. Colonel Jolette, Wing Commander, Chief Warrant Officer Pimentel, and Captain Pierce, Public Affairs Officer. And are there, I don't have
Captain Ahmed.
Captain
Ahmed.
Ahmed? Right. And any other guests today? No. Okay, I would now like to invite President George Oakley to lead us in the Remembrance Day Program.
All the issues. Good afternoon, and thank you for inviting me to do this. Before we get started, I would ask that anybody has any electronic devices to please turn them off unless you need them for operational commitments. All right. I want to thank Colin for inviting me to do this. It came as a total surprise. And we got together several times and we discussed the program. And, we most recently met and I asked him if it'd be all right if I said a few words. And he said yes, as long as it's short. So I promise it'll be the shortest 2 hours of your life. So distinguished guests, Rotarians, veterans, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for attending this Remembrance Day celebration in honor of the men and women who made the ultimate sacrifice in service to our country from World War I to the present day. As you know, Remembrance Day is on the 11th day of the 11th hour of the 11th month, the date of the signing of the armistice of the war that was supposed to end all wars. Sadly, less than 21 years later, the world was thrust into another global conflict. As in the first war, men and women from every village, town, and city, from coast to coast and all over Canada, went to recruiting stations to enlist and join the fight. They were taken from the bosom of their families, their friends, and loved ones, and sent halfway around the world to engage the enemy. Imagine the fear of being a young lad on a troop carrier crossing the North Atlantic, never knowing if a torpedo from a U-boat would come thundering through their hull. Should they be fortunate enough to get to England, only have to endure the incessant blitz from the German Air Force, with hundreds of bombers and fighters dropping hundreds of tons of ordnance all over the country. Then we fast forward to D-Day, June of '44, having to land on the beaches in Normandy, knowing the casualty rate was going to be very, very high. And with the defenders having years to place mines, tank traps, booby traps, and having all of their artillery, mortars, and machine guns sighted into the landing zones. A seemingly impossible task, but yet they did it. They overcame all odds. But almost certainly, they went to sleep at night, dreaming dreams they should never have to dream. As they gained a foothold in Normandy, they went through and liberated villages in Holland, France, Belgium, and Luxembourg. And they saw the horrors of man's inhumanity towards their fellow man. Most of the inhabitants of those countries are grateful beyond imagination. After being occupied by the Germans for 4 years. The stories are handed down from generation to generation about the brave Canadians who freed them. And most certainly, had they not been liberated, many of their youth would not be alive today. To this day, the graves in war cemeteries are tended to by the youth of those countries. They most certainly will never forget. Subsequent to World War II, Germany was split up into 4 partitions, with the Soviets taking part of Eastern Germany and the British in the northern part of Germany, the Americans in the center, and the French in the south. It became apparently clear that the Soviets, with the establishment of Warsaw Pact, would require us to create another similar pact. So NATO was created, and as signatories of the NATO alliance and with the UN, it dictated our future deployment of military troops and peacekeeping duties all around the world. The most recent chapter is the Afghanistan conflict. So here we are today, and all we can do is remember them. That our personal thoughts about them are transmitted from thoughts into words. We see those that survived and returned as bold and wise, but by and large, they were young lads on the most part. And I believe they gave up two lives, both the ones they were living and the one they could have had, namely having the ability to get married, have children, and raise them, and enjoying all the trials and tribulation and happiness that experience entails. They gave up everything. They gave up all of their tomorrows for our country and for us. And all we can do is remember. We owe them a debt that can never be repaid. Right now, we find ourselves in very precarious times with the war in Ukraine, the threat of war, with the expressed words by the Chinese stating their intent to take over Taiwan. In North Korea, who are launching missiles towards Japan and South Korea. The potential for another large-scale conflict seems to be a very real possibility. They had to be brave for us. And all we can have control over now is to ensure that other young men and women never have to join them. Let us pray for peace and justice and a more stable world. Thank you. Since your last Remembrance program, remember those Rotarians who have passed away. Charlie Olmsted, Bruce Goulet, Alex Spears, and Ron Button, who was a retired general of the Royal Canadian Air Force. Would ask that you please rise now as we sing our national anthem. Great. Please put it on.
Stand on guard for thee.
Now play the last post. now observe 2 minutes of silence. We now have the lament. The act of remembrance. They shall grow not old, as we who are left grow old. Age shall not worry them, or the years condemn. At the going down of the sun and in the morning, we will remember them. Reveille. Would like to call upon Rotarian Richard White to do the invocation, please.
Loving God, as we gather here today, our hearts are full of memories of friends, relatives, comrades who have served under arms in the great wars of this century. We come today to remember those who fell in battle and those who, while they did not die, offered their bodies, their minds, their hearts, their energies, their youth to fight for a better world. We ask, Lord, that you would grace us with your presence in this room, that you would help us in those places of pain, that you would hear our prayers, spoken and unspoken, and have regard for our thoughts this day. Lord, bless us, and bless all those who gave the best of themselves for our country. And we ask this in the name of Jesus. Amen.
President Grace Dorian in Flanders Field.
In Flanders fields, the poppies blow between the crosses, row on row, that mark our place, and in the sky, the larks, still bravely singing, fly, scarce heard amid the guns below. We are the dead. Short days ago, we lived, felt dawn, saw sunset glow, loved and were loved, and now we lie in Flanders fields. Take up our quarrel with the foe. To you from failing hands we throw. The torch be yours to hold it high. If ye break faith with us who die, we shall not sleep, though poppies grow in Flanders fields.
The Naval Prayer by Ralph Daigle.
O eternal Lord God, who alone rulest the raging of the sea, who has compassed the waters with bounds until day and night come to an end, be pleased to receive into thy almighty and most gracious protection the persons of us thy servants and the fleet in which we serve. Preserve us from the dangers of the sea and from the violence of the enemy, that we may be a safeguard unto our most gracious sovereign, King Charles and his dominions, and the security for such as pass upon the seas upon their lawful occasions, that the inhabitants of our commonwealth may in peace and quietness serve thee, our God, and that we may return in safety to enjoy the blessings of the land, and with a thankful remembrance of thy mercies, to praise and glorify thy holy name. Amen.
High Flight by John Gillespie McGee. A sonnet written by John Gillespie McGee, an American pilot with the Royal Canadian Air Force in the Second World War. He came to Britain, flew in a Spitfire squadron, and was killed at the age of 19 December 1941. During a training flight near Shropshire, Lincolnshire. High Flight. Portions of this lovely poem appear on the headstones of many interned in Arlington's National Cemetery, particularly aviators and astronauts. Oh, I have slipped the surly bonds of earth and danced sky on laughter's silver wings. Sunward I've climbed and joined the tumbling mirth of sun-split clouds and done 100 things you have not dreamed of. Wheeled and soared and swung high in sunlit silence. Hovering there, I've chased the shouting clouds, wind along and flung my eager craft through footless halls of air. Up the long, delirious, burning blue, I've topped the wind-swept heights with easy grace, where never lark or even eagle flew. And while, with silent, lifting mind, I've trod the high, untrespassed sanctity of space, put out my hand and touched the face of God.
I would like to turn the meeting over to Rotary President Grace for the Rotary portion.
Branch President George, veterans, remove headdress.
Mr. George, you can all be seated, please. I would like to call on Rick Found. Sorry, if you can introduce the speaker for today. The speaker for today.
I'm sorry. I'm back.
Thanks.
It's my honor and privilege to introduce Colonel Gillette. This is a third generation service member. Splendid. Born in North Bay, Colonel Richard Gillette joined the Canadian Armed Forces in 2001 as a direct entry officer after completing a Bachelor of Administration degree in Geography at the University of Ottawa. He began his career at the Canadian Forces School of Aerospace Control Operations in Cornwall. After completing training in 2003, he served as a weapons director and with the Canadian Air Defense Sector at 22 Wing North Bay. Now fast forward 21 years and Colonel Gillette comes back to us on April 29th, 2022, returned to North Bay to assume command of 22 Wing Force Base North Bay and the Canadian Air Defense Sector. Colonel Gillette holds a Master of Science in Aerospace Administration and Logistics from Southeastern Oklahoma State University and a Master of Military Operations Art and Science from the Air Command Staff College. Colonel Gillette shares his life with his wife, Marie-Claude Boileau, originally from Ledet, Quebec, and they are the proud parents of Alexia and Nathan. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you Colonel Gillette.
And if you humor me, I'm going to invite up Chief Warrant Officer Pittman as well. We're kind of going to do a tandem discussion today. And we'll stand here so that the people that are joining online can see us as well. There you go. That's better. So thank you very much for the introduction. Thank you very much for inviting us today. Merci beaucoup de nous inviter aujourd'hui. C'est notre plaisir de nous joindre à vous. As was mentioned, North Bay has always been have a special place for me because I was born here. My father was also in the RCEF as a meteorological technician, and my grandfather was a Second World War veteran as well. So exactly as was mentioned, it's kind of been a military life for me. So North Bay will always be special for me. This is actually my 5th time that I've been to North Bay. Born here, came back in grade 5. And then now it's my 3rd time myself in my military career. So the first thing I wanted to bring to you and just to talk about what Remembrance Day means to me. It means something different to everyone, but for me, it's that what I spoke of. It's part of my family, and I think that's what's key about Remembrance Day is that you focus on what really it means to you and your heart and your family, and not necessarily what is imposed on you by someone else. And that's what I always hold true is I believe that the sacrifice of our veterans is what is the most important thing that is often forgotten. But it's not just the veterans of the wars of the past. It's, as you mentioned in your speech, it's the veterans of the most recent conflicts and those that are serving now. We have veterans that are in their 20s at 22 members of the Canadian Armed Forces who have just returned from deployment, who have served their country overseas, and they're my heroes as well. Chief.
I'll see you. Good afternoon, everyone. Quick history also. It's the third time here in North Bay. I started my career back in 1988 as a young, no gray hair aerospace control operator. And what do you know, 35 years afterwards, I'm becoming the wing chief at 22 Wing. So quite special, almost full turnaround, and I'm very thrilled to be the wing chief in North Bay. So Remembrance Day, well, just by term, remember. We have to remember the sacrifices that many have done so far. If you look back, there's very little. I don't believe there's any World War I veterans still alive. World War II, numbers are dwindling, and so forth and so on. So we have to remember sacrifices that were made, sacrifices that are made right now for some of our folks that are serving, and some of those that have not come back home. So it's very important.
So that's what I'll ask that in the next week as we reflect over Veterans Week, what it means to you. And obviously, I encourage you all to come to the Remembrance Day ceremony on the 11th of November at the Cenotaph. So I guess the next thing we wanted to just give you a quick update, and I promise it won't be 2 hours long, so because you'll just get bored of us. It's just to give you a little update on things that are happening at 22 Wing, things that you might have seen in the news. Yeah, don't panic here. So I won't stray to what I'm allowed to talk about, but just to give you a little update on things that are happening at 22 Wing. Because I'm convinced that although the wing has a very strong relationship with the city of North Bay, most people in the city don't really know what we do up there. I'm very much convinced of that. Historically, we used to have a lot of tours at the base when we had the underground complex. People would come in large numbers. We had, I think it was called the Heritage Festival, and we've kind of gone away with that. And it's not because we're hiding anything and we're not being very secretive. It's just that's how things have evolved. I was very happy this summer that we were able to restart our public engagements kind of like this. We had the Armed Forces Day, which was a great success. We almost got that record of having the largest Canadian flag of humans. I think we were short by a couple hundred people. But that's the type of things that I'm happy to start doing again, to have these engagements, to engage with the city of North Bay, engage with you, to tell you what we're all about. So we're in November now. We've gone through the annual posting season. All the new people have arrived from all across Canada. We have a bunch of new Americans that have arrived too, because in case you didn't know, we have a large number of United States Air Force personnel up at the base. That's why you see those license plates from Texas, Hawaii, and Arizona. Like, who are these people? They work at the base. So we've brought these new people in. We've started to meet them, the community, their families, and now we're just finishing up getting them trained, because when they show up here, we need to train them to do their job. So the training of these new people is starting to be complete, and they're just starting to do their job 24/7. That's what we do up there at the base. It's a 24/7 operation to support the NORAD mission, North American Air Defense Command. And that's our bread and butter. We ensure that the skies are safe, that we surveil the north, the coast, of anything that might be coming to Canada or North America that shouldn't. And then the operators, the young men and women up at 22 Wing, that's their job. It's to ensure that they keep eyes on the skies, and if need be, they take action. So that's kind of what we've been doing over the last couple of months. I'll speak more to some other things here after I pass the chief there.
Thank you. So I wouldn't do my job as a chief foreign officer if I didn't talk about dress and deportment, right? So you probably noticed, or you will probably see it in the next couple, especially with Remembrance Day coming up, in reference the appearance of some military members, both Rec Force, Reserve, cadets, anybody that wears uniform. you will see that there's been some changes in the way our appearance will be. Chapter 2 of the dress policy has made it more lenient in haircuts. So haircuts are no longer required. Beards, jewelry, and so forth, as well as tattoos. And I know some people will frown. I know my fellow chiefs, a lot of folks are having an issue with that. But it's time to progress. It's time to evolve. And there's nothing wrong with it, right? When we're talking about the professional, having a tight haircut or having an earring doesn't make you more professional or unprofessional compared to others. Our men and members, our members of the Canadian Armed Forces do a lot. And you can just watch the media. We're here to fill up sandbags, fight ice storm, shovel snow. We're around the world and we're well represented and we do a very good job. The way we look is irrelevant. We're already, the fact that we're Canadian soldiers make it what we are. So don't be shocked, especially for Remembrance Day. You'll probably see some stuff that may make you do a double take, but that's the way it is. And it's good and it's great. Our folks are happy with that and makes my life a bit easier. I don't have to worry about haircuts and start screaming at people. So on that part, it's easier. Thank you.
So Chief Winslow brings a great point. We're making these small changes in the Canadian Armed Forces. One, because we don't have a choice. We are traumatizing to the society of today. We, much like many other, pretty much everyone, we have problems with people. We don't have enough of them. We don't have enough people to do the jobs we need to do. We don't have enough people to send on our deployments. We are saying, we have to start saying no, 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 no to things because we've been so heavily relied upon to support things. And I think that we have become the easy button for certain things instead of the force of last resort. That's what the Canadian Armed Forces is supposed to be. We're supposed to be the people that are called in when everything else goes bad and there's no one else that can do the job. So we're struggling with that to see how we can increase our numbers. And what the chief mentioned, changes to our appearance, it's just a very small fraction of things that we are trying to adjust to be able to possibly recruit more people, to say we are more inclusive service, but more importantly, to keep the people in. It's all these little annoyances that people have that if we remove these annoyances, perhaps they'll change their mind when they want to leave and go do something else. So that's a very big focus right now in the Canadian Armed Forces. You might have seen a certain topic. It's called CAF Reconstitution. So Canadian Armed Forces Reconstitution. Our CDS General Air have spoken about this many times in the media. And really what that is a stop. Let's take a look at things. Let's think about how we do things different. What we do different. Are there things we can't do anymore? Is it temporary? Is it permanent? We're just re-looking at what we do, how we do it, how we look, to be a more inclusive force, a force that focuses on improving our professional culture, a force that really refocuses on our mission. So one thing that we are trying to do more is obviously to recruit more individuals, to have more people within our ranks. So every little technique or every little initiative that we can do that, to engage with individuals, to use the systems, the technologies that the COVID pandemic has shown that makes it easy. Like, look at this, we have people at this meeting that are online right now. So we're leveraging this type of thing to reach out more, to engage with people, to be able to pass on our message. And the final thing that I just wanted to mention is combined with kind of reinventing ourselves and reprioritizing what the Canadian Armed Forces is all about. Well, we're getting all these new systems that are coming online, all these new things, these new capabilities that we may have heard of. You've heard our minister talk about the NORAD modernization. What exactly does that mean? It's all these big words in Ottawa. What does that equate to of people and things? Some exciting things that I look forward to seeing in the future is for air defense people is new radars, right? I remember in 2004 when I showed up to Bankville, they said, don't learn that radar system because you're going to get one next year. that was 17 years ago, and we still don't have the radar. So, but that's the type of things that we're going to be seeing in the next couple of years. New radars for our mobile radar units, new systems across the Arctic, potentially in support of NORAD modernization, new fighter jets to be loud in the sky like there was this weekend, which is pretty cool. There's a free air show this weekend. New transport and refueling aircraft to support that NORAD mission. So these are the exciting things that I look forward to, that we look forward to be able to implement in the Canadian Armed Forces. And I'll tell you what, the young folk that we work with every single day, and they are young. If we walk through the ops room in North Bay, it looks like a high school, right? They're literally
People with gray hair.
yeah. There's not a lot of people like us. They're literally in their 20s, but they're very passionate about it. And I urge you, and maybe that's an action I want for the president, of a tour, a visit of 22 May. Because this is the type of thing we want to start doing. We want to start having this engagement. And if you get an opportunity to come in and see these young men and women that are doing the job, both Canadians and Americans, I get literally, I'm getting a little teary-eyed right now thinking about it, because they're so proud of what they do. And they'll talk to you like forever, how interesting their job is and how amazing it is. But this is what I want to offer them. This is what we in the military want to offer them, is these new toys, these new capabilities for them to feel like they really are a modern military to be able to do that job. Chief, did you have anything else that you wanted to bring?
One last thing, I will put a plug for the RCF. 1st of April 2024, the RCF will be 100 years young. So expect starting next spring a few more examples of celebration that we're going to be having for the big day on the 1st of April 2024. We're working on a few projects here for the wing and for the city. But you'll see it's going to be a pretty good party on the 24th and 2024. Thank you.
So I guess one last thing I wanted to say is, if you see anyone wearing a uniform in town, whether it's Canadian or American, engage with them. And I've asked them that when someone engaged them, don't shy away, and why is this person talking to me? If they do, let me know, and I'll make sure to talk to them, but engage with them. Ask them where they're from, ask them what they do, because I really believe that they're very passionate about what they do. And again, I welcome a group to come up and see what we're all about. We'd love to do that. We love questions. Any questions about anything specific? Anyone has any questions that they would like to ask either Chief Pignatello or I? Go ahead.
What the heck, Colonel? In the introduction, it was mentioned that your spouse or parents. Do your children by extension, ask the question of all of the members serving right here? How do you explain to your children why you serve?
It's a tough question. Because my kids are still pretty young. They're 11 and 10, and they've grown up knowing military as being a normal part of their life, right? So if I only take my example, when I was a child, my father, I saw him every day coming home in a uniform. So for me, it was a normal part of life. Going to the base, going to the mess events, going to air shows. So for me, it was normal. So I think that maybe a military child doesn't have that lack of understanding of what it is to be military. For them, it's just normal. And occasionally I ask them, Alexia, do you want to be in the military? No, absolutely not that. I want to be a chef and make cupcakes and cake. That's what my daughter wants to be. But my son, he gets a different answer. He's like, yeah, I either want to be military or I want to be a police officer, because I have a brother who's RCMP. So obviously he wants to be one or the other, right? So I think that's the difference. Is children of military members know what it's all about. So they either love it or they don't like it. So, Chief, any perspectives?
Well, it's
on your
very,
daughters?
absolutely. Good question. I got 3 kids. My oldest is in the military, born in North Bay, actually, then experienced a move every 2 to 3 years. My middle daughter is at Nipissing University. I don't think she's military material because there's a bit of an issue with getting directed. But my youngest one is 14 years old and she's more of a buffoon than anything else. So for now, I don't think she wants to be in the military. But I will echo what the colonel was saying, right? Our kids have seen it. My joking aside, my career was pretty much a move every 2 to 3 years from one end to the other of the country. It has negative aspect to that, but a lot more positive. My kids, they're like, where could I go to school? Well, anywhere in the world. And they're not attached to a neighborhood, to mom and dad. Go, we'll come visit. I'll go trash your place, right? And drink your booze and eat your food and leave my dirty knob around the floor. But they're well open. They have friends now with technology from one end to the other of the country. They text each other. They do all kinds of stuff. So I think open up the world to them. And they're all pro. Like I said, my son is in the military also. He's in his third year in the military, young aviator, and doing very well. And he's going on his own adventure in the military. He's looking at his first posting next year, possibly going on tours. And it's like, go. Mommy and daddy because my wife is also military. She's also busy. And we're like, no, do your own career and we'll come and visit. So it's workable.
Really unique opportunities. If you heard in my bio, if you paid attention that long, because it's pretty long, my bio. Thanks for reading the short version. Sorry, thanks for reading the short version. But both my kids are born in the States. So I'm from North Bay. My wife's from Bagotville, which is in the Saguenay area, which is very francophone. And both my kids are born in Oklahoma. Like, how is that even? How can you even make sense of that? And my daughter learned how to speak English in Alabama when I lived there as well. So it's all over the place. So we have two kids that with their friends at school and say, "Where are you born?" Like, you get the standard answers, right? North Bay, Sunbury, Toronto, Ottawa, Oklahoma City. What? That's the type of experiences they get. They develop adaptation skills. I think you can attest to that. So really, I know that myself growing up in that mentality, it really helped me. And two kids in my family, and one's military and one's RCMP. So that didn't push anything. It just, it's easy. Go ahead, man.
Do you think it's the largest challenge you have within your personnel? I have a nephew that's, of course, is saying that I'm same place. Nephew who's acting as a police officer. So I've heard stories, heard things. They're in their 40s. What do you think is the biggest challenge to people or serve that you have today? I'm sure there is. Everybody does.
I think today the biggest challenge is because we have so few people that the ones that are there are feeling the pressure of that. The expression of do more with less, well, they're tired of hearing that. So their morale is going down because they have so much demand in them to do things that they don't see the light at the end of the tunnel. If they keep hearing the bad news of the recruitment's not there, we're not getting enough people in, we're not getting this. So I think that's what we're seeing now, is that people are unhappy because they feel that it's just so difficult, and it's an insurmountable task to do what we're asking them.
It's certainly difficult times, right? And that's not an understatement. Yes, we're short of people. Extremely hard to be able to keep up the tempo with 50,000 troops that are short. COVID didn't help for 2 years, right? We took a knee like everybody else. Cost of living. When we talk about our folks that being moving 2 to 3 years, other than in the Belle Province, everywhere else, price of housing is terrible. Young corporal, in the past, folks would come in, they were single, they were 18 years old, right? No wife, no kids. Now folks come in, they have a wife, they have a husband, they have kids, they have no kids. Sometimes it's mom and dad that's with them. So that's an impact on trying to buy housing and so forth. So it's very difficult. Yes, we make good money, absolutely, but it's hard to cope, like everybody else, to be able to afford $1 million home. And obviously the stressor that puts on our folks is huge. And also the new people that we have the last couple of years. When I joined, I finished high school, tried to get to university. My grades weren't that great. They were good, but not that great. Why do I join the military? Well, they offered me a career, never looked back for 35 years. Nowadays, they don't look 35 years down their nose. They look 2 or 3 years. and see if I like it. If I don't like it, I'll do something else. I like it, I'll stay in for another. So the forces have to relook how they do business in contracts. Instead of, hey, you're coming in for 5 years and then we'll give you a 25-year contract, they're gonna start looking into, well, how about every 2 or 3 years, we sign a new contract. So complex, we have to evolve. We're in 2023 soon. We're not back in 1950, so we have to evolve. And they're paying attention. Hence the Catholic Constitution, where they're gonna relook how to do business. We have to do that. We have no choice. Yes.
Maybe, but I mean, from everything we're being told, money is not the problem, right? It's that there is support, it's there. Really, it's the people front where we're having issues. In this Catholic Constitution initiative, it's not a thing they're gonna flip a switch and it's fixed tomorrow. It's like a 10-year strategy to look at all these little things to recruit, train, and retain everyone. So, but it's very.
And funny enough, when we ask our troops, money is not the issue. It's not like they want to pay more. I mean, obviously, everybody will take $100 more in their paycheck, but it's not the money. It's the stability. Can I not just stay here in North Bay for the next 20 years? Or maybe you can. We have to break our mentality of, no, I have to move every 2 to 3 years. Some folks want to do that and others want to stay put. Would there be consequences to that? Yes, maybe there'll be less career progression. Maybe you won't be eligible for promotion or certain courses. Well, the CAF needs to sit down and say, you know what, the way we've been doing business, maybe good, 70s and 80s, but we need to evolve, and that's what it is. So, yes, money, like the boss said, doesn't seem to be an issue. A bit of the Murphy's Law, right now, every equipment needs to be redone. You probably saw some of the news report about the F-35 or the new ships that we're getting. It's a lot of money, a lot of money.
Any other questions?
Right away, sir.
Identify the problems with recruitment. What do you think the answer is? Solve that problem. What do we have to do? Draw these people into career status.
So the question is, with the issue is recruitment, what do we need to do to help that, to get more numbers? I'd love to be able to know the answer to that. So that's a very challenging question. But I think it's little things, it's baby steps, right? It's not a massive overhaul, it's little things. Give you an example, it takes a long time to go through the recruitment process. My wife actually joined the reserves because she was tired of losing her job every 2 years when it moved. And it took her 18 months from the day that she first applied to the day that she started her basic training in St. John. That's too long. So things like that they're looking at the process, how to make it faster. Can we, instead of sending someone on a 7-month course, if they're a qualified aircraft technician, can they immediately start working? Because we're not going to teach them anything they know already. So things like that, little initiatives to try to get people in quicker and to get them into the team and working faster. And that'll make them maybe have a bit more desire to work.
I was going to say that I think visibility is a major factor to recruit. Last week, I was at a clergy conference with about 300 clergy there. The military was there recruiting padres.
That's good. But it goes with what I was saying earlier in my remarks. Is we want to be more open. We want to have these engagement sessions. We want you to talk to us. We want to talk to you. And that's what's going to greatly help us.
You mentioned that you're having, morale issues right now, which sure most people, every aspect of life, the pressures of work are facing. We've got to creative ways to try and, boost them around in the short term.
So one thing that we did it a couple weeks ago when all the wing commanders and wing chiefs got together in Winnipeg with the generals, and it's actually something I'm going to try next week, is to ask us, so ask them what they think. So we had this little exercise, and pretend I'm doing here, I would hand out index cards to everyone in this room, say, what's the one problem that you want to get at? That's the first question, and then the second question is, tell me exactly how you're going to start getting at this problem. Because it's easy for us to complain about things and admire a problem, oh, this is terrible, but what is your suggestion? So that's one way we're getting, is to get every single people at the lowest level, tell me what your complaints, tell me what you would do, fix it. And then doing those brainstorming, because our people are our greatest resource, that we tend to forget to use them for stuff like that. So that's just one example that I can pass on.
Most definitely, but before I answer your question, just to add on to the previous question, we have to be the employer of choice, and that's what the CAF needs to do. We're no different than Bombardier, Bell, and all those companies. We have to be the preferred employer for our members. How are we going to do that? Recruiting, recruiting drive videos, visibility of our folks, and that's what we strive. That's for now what we could do. To answer your question, I think to get them involved. Our folks just want to get involved. The days where, because you're a young corporal, you don't know anything, it's history. They may have bright ideas. Our folks are smarter than me. I got grade 12. A lot of our young folks got degrees and so forth. They come in, they're smart, they have experience. Not everybody's 18 years old also, right? We have folks that are 40, 50 years old. So we got to capitalize on that, their experience. We also got to get the folks that maybe don't want to join the Rec Force, but they want to be part of the Reserve Force. Hey, I'm willing to do this for 14 days a month, or maybe full-time for 6 months, or maybe a year. And we go get those experts that work at Bell Canada and Bell Helicopter and Ford and GM and so forth, and bring them in and employ them, even if it's just for a short period of time. So we need to open a horizon and challenge our folks that you have an answer to our issue, and we're all working together. Because you can't always expect Ottawa to come up with wonderful decisions. They're busy enough. They need everybody's effort on it. So it's a team effort.
In a recent town hall is when the entire base comes into the gym and we get them to ask questions. That's great, because that's where they kind of air their very heart. One individual specifically, he said, he was asking these questions, he said, I could work tomorrow at the BC Ferries and make twice as much money, blah, blah, blah. And I asked him, like, well, why aren't you choosing to be a member of the Canadian Armed Forces? Thank you very much for doing it, because I think you see that we offer ability that maybe you didn't get. We're getting the hook, so. Thank you very much for your attention today. Again, open invitation. My thanks for your attention. Have a good day. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Going to reveal.
I just think that a whole bunch of people would want to stay here until 2. So I regret looking like the guy with the hook, but we really had to get on with things. Colonel, Chief, I'd like to thank you very much for your service to our country.
Thank you.
And I'll extend that thanks to everybody in here who is either now serving or has served. It's really important to, as we just heard in many different ways, to acknowledge that, to encourage it, to recognize it, and those sorts of things. You talked in your colonel in part of your speech. You talked about the passion that you see in the officer group today, and I think that was something that I saw today from both of you, was passion, and that's you have to be congratulated for that. You've both been through a lot in terms of your careers, ups and downs, no doubt, for you both. It's been up in terms of promotions, but to maintain that level of passion and to present it honestly here today was really, really very exciting for me. Enthusiasm, all those sort of things. And here you are faced with many more challenges than you were able to address, I think. And yet I sense a real willingness and an optimism about working on those. And so congratulations for that. I was a senior executive, strategic planning, all the sort of stuff, and I had a relative who was a general in the forces, and so everybody knows it's great, big, huge, slow-moving bureaucracy. You're not the only great, big, slow-moving bureaucracy in the country, but you are one with some distinct characteristics for good reasons, I think. So I'll finish with something you probably already read. Encourage and hope that you can do the changes you're talking about, but culture eats strategy for breakfast every day. You've heard that, I'm sure, in some training sessions. Many people in this room have heard it. So good luck with the culture thing. It's really important. Thank you again.
Thank you very much.